Ecstatica.
Hi, it's Ellen Etoff. It's wonderful that you're here. I'm the Soulful Sex Coach, founder of Ecstatica.com, and creator of cutting-edge products and programs to give you electrifying sex with a spiritually connected soulmate. Thank you for coming back to take the next step toward opening your orgasmic energy flow and unleashing your inner wild. I'm so excited for you to be on this journey that has truly been life-changing for me. It's ultimately a journey of expressing more of who you are and living life fully. And along the way, you get to be more spontaneous, enjoy deeper intimacy, and have fantastic sex. Now, when it comes to ecstatic sex and deeply loving an intimate relationship, I've come to realize that although technique plays an important role, it's really only about 5% of what's required to have a great love life. The other 95% is clearing out all the crap that's in the way. And once you clear out the crap, once you clear out the blocks or kinks in your energy hose, as we've discussed in the first 2 videos in this series, it's easy to bring in the 5% that relates to technique. Why? Because one of the things that happens as the crap clears out and your vital life force or orgasmic energy flows freely is you have clearer, more open communication with your partner. You can ask unashamedly for what you need and desire sexually. You can learn technique together. Your heart is open and undefended. You're not having power struggles anymore. Fear is out the window, or at least reduced. And your sexual energy is fully available. And this makes any decent sexual techniques much more likely to be pleasurable and effective. In this video, as promised, I'm going to share with you how you can clear out the kinks or blocks in your orgasmic energy hose to release your full body orgasmic wave and unleash your inner wild. Hopefully, you watched videos 1 and 2 of this series and filled out your orgasmic energy flow assessment. If you did, you'll have a pretty good idea of where you may have kinks or blocks in your energy flow and what the implications are. Now, if you haven't watched those videos and filled out the assessment, I highly recommend you pause this video and go back and do that first. That way, this video will make a lot more sense. And by the way, the Orgasmic Energy Flow Assessment is available right beneath both videos 1 and 2. As you may recall in video 1, we learned how our natural vital life force, our orgasmic energy flow, is sort of like a garden hose. When the water is turned on, or in this case, your orgasmic energy, it ideally flows freely. This energy can take the form of free-flowing emotion, appropriate to the situation, of course, full-body orgasm, and pure, full-on living of the human experience. But when emotions are repressed or suppressed due to past imprinting, life experience, and subconscious self-limiting decisions, they cause blocks or kinks in our energy hose. And when your energy hose is kinked or clogged up, the energy kind of spews out in ways that can be very unpleasant. Sigmund Freud said, "Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways." You may also recall that in video number 2, we looked at how our orgasmic energy naturally flows in a wave-like motion from the base of our spine to the top of our head like this. We also explored how this energy correlates to specific color frequencies. We discussed 11 different key points where the energy is most likely to get blocked or kinked, and what the corresponding emotional themes and body parts are that are typically associated with each point in the spectrum. We also went into some depth about what the blocked manifestation of each kink point might look like, and the emotional and often physical healing that can happen when the clear flow of the related emotions and energy is released. You may recall from video number 2 the physical healing Sarah had with the medically miraculous shrinking of her massive uterine fibroid tumors. In going through the first 2 videos and the assessment, you may have discovered, for example, that Clearing out your guilt and shame and inhibitions or inclination to take on excess responsibility gives you the freedom to be more spontaneous, creative, and playful. This could show up as being more playful in general, more creative at work, or more sexually responsive and spontaneous for more satisfying orgasmic sex. Maybe you ascertain that releasing the hurt and fear of abandonment and jealousy that keeps cropping up in your life can open you to more acceptance of love, compatibility, union with others, and peace. This will likely enable you to open to more love from your partner and feel more connected, even to reclaim the feelings you had when you first fell in love and explore deeper and deeper levels of intimacy. Or if you're single, you may be more energetically available to attract a new partner into your life, one with whom you can share the love and intimacy you long for. Or perhaps you realize that clearing out blocks to speaking your truth can enhance your ability to freely discuss with your partner what you really want and need. It can also lead you to more independence and joy and help you be more open and responsive sexually, even more easily orgasmic if you've had difficulty letting go into orgasm. These are just a few of many examples of the benefits of clearing specific blocks or kinks in your vital life force energy or orgasmic energy flow. As I've been saying all along, as more and more of this energy opens up, you start to experience full-body orgasmic flow. And this can be very pleasurable, even thrilling energy. And when you share it with a love partner, you can enter an orgasmic wave state that goes on and on, often as long as you're having fun. And it is fun and deeply intimate and satisfying at the same time. So back to the matter of how to clear out these kinks or blocks in your orgasmic energy flow. Now, there are many ways to clear out these kinks. And now that you have an idea of where your energetic kinks may be, perhaps you've already begun clearing them out. Some clearing methods are general and some are very specific. For example, you can do yoga. I love yoga. I've practiced it for decades, and I know it helps clear out energy kinks. But yoga isn't very specific. It's very health promoting and definitely frees up energy over time. And you can address specific holding patterns in the body. But personally, I haven't seen it lead to predictable or dramatic release of emotional blocks. You can also do many other Eastern energy and movement practices like Qigong, Tai Chi, or martial arts. Now, I'm not as experienced with these, but as far as I understand, these work with your overall energy flow and are not very focused on clearing out specific blocks in a predictable manner. There are also many somatic modalities, forms of bodywork and movement therapy, all of which can provide great value in different ways. But again, not necessarily focusing on clearing out specific emotional blocks. When we get into specific focus on clearing, there's also talk therapy. But it doesn't have to take years of therapy to clear out a lot of crap. Although talk therapy has its place, it's definitely not a way to make rapid progress clearing out emotional and energetic blocks. You know why? Because talk therapy largely works through the cognitive brain. But repression and suppression of emotions and natural self-expression usually happen at an emotional and physical level when we're kids. And it isn't usually even conscious, so talk therapy is really the slow route in. Hypnotherapy, not hypnosis, but hypnotherapy is another matter because it bypasses the cognitive mind and goes directly to the source of the blocks. So that can be very specific. I have been working since 1991 with private clients and groups, in person, over the phone, and online to clear out specific blocks rapidly. I use a combination of color, eye movement, breath, and emotional and somatic awareness and regression. A very typical example of the feedback I get is what Mel from San Rafael, California said. Ellen, I've gotten more out of 6 sessions with you than I did out of 6 years of therapy. Or from Carol, from San Jose, California. She wrote me, out of the blue, 5 years after she did a short series of sessions with me when she was single and looking for her soulmate. She wrote, "Well, the sexual and relationship thing is handled. Ellen, I really attribute a lot of the wonderful things that have happened in my life to the work I did with you 5 years ago. Soon thereafter, I went to India and met my soulmate. We came back to the U.S., got married, and bought a lovely home. I've since launched into freelance work and am very happy." And if you watched video 2 of this series, you heard about Adam, whose fiancée dumped him for his best friend. We cleared out the hurt, the rage, the abandonment and jealousy, and a host of other really difficult feelings, including the fear that he'd never find love again. A little over a year later, he sent me a wedding announcement with a picture of him with his new bride, a different woman. I run across them a couple of times a year, and they are still happily together well over 20 years later. Caitlin, who along with her husband was in one of my group programs online, wrote me in the middle of the program to say, "We realized today while listening to the call, we also have made significant progress that is worth noting, as we see it reflected in our relationship with each other. The most obvious is that we are committed to our individual and collective growth, to have the most fun, fulfilling, nurturing, orgasmic relationship possible." So you may ask, how do the methods I use get these rapid and lasting results? First, we identify where blocks seem to be, and then go in directly to release them and open up the flow. And as a result, people get amazing results. I mentioned earlier that I use a combination of color, eye movement, breath, emotional and somatic awareness, and regression. Let's break this down briefly. Color is a powerful energetic frequency, and it resonates with various physical, energetic, and emotional systems in your body, like the tuning fork resonates with the strings of a piano, like we discussed in video 1. When you view a single saturated color for several minutes, which is longer than the typical time you would focus on one color in everyday life, it can have very specific therapeutic effects. It gives the energy of the color time to really sink in. The eyes are virtually the frontal lobes of the brain. When you view a saturated color, that particular frequency typically leads to predictable patterns of physical and emotional response, the kind of patterns we discussed in video number 2. Color also resonates energetically in fairly predictable ways. Eye movement helps further access and release patterns of thought, emotions, and somatic response or bodily sensations. When done properly, all this helps you access and release the source of self-limiting subconscious decisions like I spoke about in video number 1 of this series. I'm talking about going in and pulling out the weeds by the roots. And breath facilitates release and letting go and reintegration. The goal is actually to neutralize the energies and emotions. When you neutralize the energies and emotions, instead of your energy flow being kinked, living by unconscious knee-jerk reactions, being frequently triggered and tied to old self-limiting patterns, your energy can flow freely and you have access to the full range of emotions and responses, so you can respond appropriately in any situation and live life more fully in the present. So how do I use color and these other modalities for this kind of clearing with individuals and groups? In 1991, I started doing clearing and release work with private clients in my office with an instrument that projects colored light into the eyes. Eventually, the internet made it possible to work with clients remotely. So I developed color fields online and have found they are just as effective at getting results for people. For years now, I've been successfully doing release work with clients over the phone and Skype, clients all over the world. This also made it possible to work with groups because everyone has their own color device on their computer or tablet. The first group sexual healing program I did with the color fields was wildly successful. Another question I get is, how can you do this kind of personal clearing in a group? I just mentioned my sexual healing program. Experience has proven that participants get significant benefits being in a group. During live group sessions on the phone, participants often take turns having me individually facilitate them to release an issue in the group setting. And much to my delight, I discovered everyone else on the call, or even listening to the replay, gets significant release and clearing of blocked energies as well as the one I'm working with. It's like group therapy with the added benefit of anonymity. And the group energy and support is amazing and powerful. You may say, I thought your Love Unbound music breaks up patterns. Well, yes, it does. And this takes it to a higher level. The color is more specific than the music with auditory pheromones, which has other amazing benefits, by the way. It also works well to use the Love Unbound music with color sessions. Now you may wonder, how can color be so powerful? There's actually quite a bit of research into the therapeutic impact of color on your physiology and emotions. Color is a frequency, and again, when you use a color that resonates with what you need, like that tuning fork in the piano, it loosens up blocks and limiting patterns and supports reintegration. I'm continually amazed at the effects it can have. As an example, I'll mention one client I had, and I'll call her Angela. Angela was from the Azores. It was a lush green country of islands. And she came to me with two issues. One was that she just couldn't say no to her husband, especially relative to work he wanted her to continue doing for his business, which was now doing well. She had helped him get it off the ground, but now she wanted to move on to her own interests, but felt kind of trapped by him. And over time, this dampened her interest in sex with him and adversely affected her sexual response when they did make love. The other issue was fear of heights. The idea of getting near enough to the edge of a cliff on the island where she grew up in order to see the ocean terrified her. After 3 weeks of weekly sessions and viewing specific colors in between times at home, she felt she was complete. She easily told her husband she was done working on the business in a way that he was able to accept. As a result, she became much more enthusiastic and responsive sexually. And when I asked her about her fear of heights, she said, "Oh, I could just run up to the edge of the cliff and stop and look over the edge." Something she had previously never even imagined doing her entire life. It was that fast. Another question that comes up is, if color is so healing, why can't I just be in a colorful environment or wear colorful clothes? Again, in order for color to have maximum impact, it needs to be viewed one color at a time in a saturated form for more time than you would ordinarily do so in everyday life. You could actually spend time looking at large pieces of fabric in the right colors. Of course, you'd want some facilitation of the process while you're looking at it. Now, here's what this can mean in your life. Instead of being afraid to say what's on your mind for fear you'll be rejected, you're able to clearly and compassionately speak your truth. And when your energy system is clearer, you're less likely to trigger other people's negativity. You can be more present and see people, including your partner, and situations for who and what they are without projecting your own stuff on them. As a result, together, you and your partner find new and creative ways to deal with needs, desires, and differences. This might mean that you come to terms with different priorities for dealing with, say, money or family or vacations. You might communicate more freely about your sexual needs and desires in a way that your partner really gets it. This eventually leads to more ecstatic lovemaking. And these outcomes lead you to feel more love for each other, greater trust, and peace in your relationship. And at social gatherings, you find yourselves catching each other's eyes across the room as you share a special look that says, "I love you. I'm so glad you're in my life." And if the people here knew what a great time we had in bed, they would die of jealousy. Another example might be that instead of being bound by subtle guilt and shame or fear of abandonment or entrapment, you become less inhibited and more spontaneous and playful. So you and your partner start exploring new realms sexually, which in turn draws you into deeper realms of shared pleasure and intimacy. And you feel more passionate sexually and for life in general. And you feel like more of the sexy, vibrant woman or man that you really are. You feel freer and you're more creative. And this shows up at work, with your friends, and in your family life. Your kids and friends see you as the model of the kind of person they want to be and the kind of relationship they want to create for themselves. If you're single, instead of subtly projecting fear of rejection or fear that you'll never meet the one, you're open and confident and incredibly magnetic to the kind of person that is your ideal partner. Now at this point, I'd like to say that I've loved all your comments and questions and emails. It's really rewarding. Many of you ask how you can move forward with me. In the next video, I'll tell you about that. I'm going to tell you about my Unleash Your Inner Wild program. I'm only going to offer it for a limited time because I can only serve so many people. Be sure to keep an eye on your email inbox, because if video 4 isn't available when you're watching this one, it will be soon, and I'll send you an email invitation to learn about the Unleash Your Inner Wild program. This is the program through which you can release your full-body orgasmic flow for ecstatic sex, including full-body orgasmic waves, greater sexual spontaneity, increased ability to love and receive love, deeper intimacy, and freedom to live fully and express who you really are. So join me for video 4 to learn all about it.